Welcome in Tuesday morning. Blue Sky Live here with you today. Chase Parham and Siskey sitting in for Scoops this morning. I guess he's getting on the road here soon. I know he was trying to get on by 9. It's possible that he hops in for a few minutes, but probably not. Probably Tyler and I here with you today on this Election Day edition of Blue Sky Live. Hopefully, you guys that have already been out there, got in line, got it taken care of, wasn't too bad here for you. I also agree it should be a federal holiday to on national election days, and we're a few days away from Ole Miss and Georgia. Saturday, 2:30 on ABC for that one. The Ole Miss Rebels basketball team opened up their regular season with a very comfortable win last night against the Long Island Sharks, 90-60, I believe, something like that. There at the Pavilion, Jalen Murray, 24 points to lead the Rebels there in their opener. 1-0. They play Grambling at 6 o'clock on Friday. This show brought to you by Blue Sky locations all over the state of Mississippi, up and down I-55 throughout North Mississippi as well. You know about the lunch specials, you know about the Sweet Daddy's locations, ribs, pulled pork, side items, desserts, and much more there with Blue Skies. We are not in the Clark Ford studio today, but Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Corey wants to be your car guy, wants to be your truck guy. He will help you out. No matter where you are in the car buying process, let him take care of you. Give him a call, and you might be closer to purchasing than you think because of the deals you get from Corey. And then all guests join us on the Campbell Clinic hotline. The Campbell Clinic is in Oxford. They specialize in kids orthopedic care, things like that, pediatrics and different things you need there with them. They're one of the only specialists for that. So Campbell Clinic now in Oxford, give them a call. Siskey, how are you this morning?
Doing good, brother. How are you? Just up and rolling, man. It's game day. You know what I mean?
It's a game day. It's a work day. You're all buzzing. You've already told me what time you're going to vote. Like, have you? You probably didn't expect that you would be talking a lot of politics on camera, even as of 2 years ago. Probably not where you thought your life was headed for you here, bud. But just kind of curious. I mean, have you been politics interested since college, since 18? Has that evolved for you? I mean, how has that sort of played out over the course of your life?
Yeah, mine's evolved a ton, right? I think obviously the older you get,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's probably the thing with me is, I used to hate talking about it. Like I was not interested, and the reason, again, it's a lame excuse, but the reason I use is the states that I lived in. It didn't matter what I was too smart to understand what the electoral college was, and so the state that I've lived in, it didn't matter. Like the race was decided the race was just decided decades ago before I was born, right?
Yeah,
So
look, you and I are going to go vote today, bud, but it doesn't matter. We're cool either way. It's going to be handled without our participation.
the older I would say this, the older you get, I think you care more because you understand you have children, you understand it's not about you, it's about their future. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a parent thing. I don't know. I think it's a parental thing that kind of flips the script. So I would say in my 30s, early late 20s, early 30s, started paying more attention, and then I think the first election, we're actually talking about this at our staff meeting this morning. I think the 2008 election was the first time that it really um, that I started talking about it because it was talked about amongst my players in our meeting rooms and things like that. So I was at Arkansas State at the time, so probably since then.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, you're more aware of the world. I mean, you're in college. You really kind of don't care. You're a little more idealistic or whatever. My deal, and I've talked about this on podcasts for years, is I like the strategy of it. I like campaigns. I like races. I like how you get to attain votes, how you persuade people to vote, what that's like. I mean, I started that even when I was, I guess the first election I really got to was in 2004, to the point that I thought I wanted to be a political strategist or something. Like I switched my major to law to go to law school for about a semester or a little more there at one point because I got so into politics. Now I did that until I actually worked at a law firm and realized I had no interest whatsoever at doing that. But it did last for a little while before I hopped back into journalism. And that's one of the things where I was. I'm kind of what just happened.
Oh, see, that's what happened to your boy yesterday. Neil's name disappeared, and I had buttons going all over the place, and now all of a sudden we got echoes and like, look at this,
Hang
look at
on,
my hand. What
what
do I
just
do with my
happened?
hand?
Yeah, I mean, we're live, guys, so give me a second. I don't know what I just hit. I just hit something that was not supposed to be hit. There we go. Got it. See, we're fixed.
So you're
Right there.
better than I
All
sat
right.
there for 20 minutes yesterday when Scoops came on, and I almost had to apologize to Scoops yesterday. He was there talking. I kind of lost track because I'm very like when I text and people talk to me, you could be saying, "Watch out, there's a guy behind you with a gun." I have no idea what's going on. And so Scoops was talking yesterday, and I was like hyper focused trying to figure out how to put his name back up there. Just like simple things. So yeah, it got me yesterday.
I got that. Sammy, really appreciate your super chat. I cannot say that entire thing out loud on the show, or we'll get probably striked. But appreciate you as always, bud. You're always here with us. So I think that you did say thanks for the terrific three bald guys show with Ike and Josh last week. And you're predicting shortly after 5 p.m. when your polls close out on the West Coast, we might have an answer. So we'll see where that goes from there.
You,
And look,
you don't want you don't want to read the rest of that.
I'm not reading the rest of that. No, I'm out on that. But I appreciate you, Sam.
I got banned yesterday from TikTok on our show.
How long you been?
I don't know. I didn't check it. It just said it said election interference.
Is that going to hurt you? Like, does it bother you in any way?
I don't I don't give a shit.
Okay,
Say,
fair enough.
say what you need to say.
All right, fair enough. Thanks to everybody that wanted a live show tonight. By the way, Neil and I both posted on the board that we just want to watch tonight. It's some of our favorite days of the 4 year period. We really both like elections. We like nights where they're announcing results and getting to flip between all the channels depending on who's pissed off. I mean, the game to play tonight is whoever is losing, go to their respective cable news channel and just watch the meltdown in that moment, and then flip back over to the other one and watch their meltdown in the moment. And if we do a live show, we can't listen at all because YouTube will strike us if they hear music in the thing. So we won't be able to even know what's going on. We'll just be reading screens and can't hear anything. So it just doesn't really work out there. But anyway, again, hope all you guys get in that, get out there, vote, and then hopefully we all don't have any crazy fallout here tonight and moving forward. Probably not gonna know the answer tonight anyway. So, but enjoy your election day. Um, yeah, I mean, you can ask Siskey to go live tonight, but he's going to say no. I mean, feel free to ask; it's fine, but it's okay.
It's gonna be. I saw it. I'm just ignoring the question.
Is that a no from you, dog?
It's hard. Well, I can't go live on TikTok. I think I figured out a way to get back on live. Yes, last night I actually tried it at half. I was at halftime of the basketball game last night, so I tried it. Complete shadow ban. Complete shadow ban. Went from having like when we do a TikTok live, we go like probably low end. There's probably 3,000 people. The high we had 24,000 on there on Friday. I think it was Friday. So, but somewhere between there, most between 6 and 8,000. Yesterday I tried it at halftime yesterday just to see what would happen after I got my strikes. We
Mm-hmm.
had 16 people in there.
Oh, so you got the algorithm just booted your ass right on out. Just
Just
nothing.
at the back of the line, boss. Went to the back.
You don't exist.
I don't exist.
Um.
So yeah.
So, Ole Miss Georgia on Saturday. Lane yesterday incredibly locked in. I mean, we can go through some of that. There's not much reason to this week because he was not talking. He was not sending messages to media. He was not sending messages to players. He was doing none of that shit. He was just completely locked in yesterday. It was Georgia week. He did the old Alabama thing where you just compliment the hell out of them and go, they're awesome and they're unbeatable and they're great. That's all I'm going right there for that. But my question is, we all talk about week to week and all that bull crap. Do you notice a different energy in buildings on weeks like this when you're inside the facility, Siski?
Yeah, it's fun. You don't have to you don't have to motivate. You know what I mean? Like there's no everybody knows what's coming Saturday at 2:30 on both sides, both buildings. It's refreshing because there are weeks that you have to. Hey guys, we gotta. It's not about game day. I want to say this too. People like, oh, our guys are sleepy and all that stuff. The sleepiness takes place Monday through Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't prepare like they need to prepare to play the game. The game, everybody's hyped to play a game, but if you don't have the juice and energy to prepare, you're not going to execute the way you need to execute on Saturday. Like I've only had one team. I can't explain it. We were damn good at Arkansas State. Our last year with Freeze could have
That
been
11
the
team. Yeah.
yeah, could have been the worst practice team I've ever seen in my life. I'm talking about ever. We couldn't. I mean, we'd go out on a Thursday when you're supposed to be as sharp as you can against the scout team, and our starting quarterback and pass Skelly, where you should be 100%, he would be like 1 of 17 on the day in pass Skelly against the scout team. I'm like, we're going to get killed. We're terrible. I mean, we were awful. We didn't have runs that would go past 3 yards. I mean, we were awful, and it's so depressing. Then we get out there on Saturday and score 50 points by halftime, and I'm just like, I couldn't. It never. That's the only time it's never correlated ever in my life. The pregame stuff, you know how people are like, oh, they're locked in, ready to play, all that stuff. I don't believe in that. I've been with teams that look like shit in pregame and came out and dominated, and then just vice versa. Teams that come out locked in pregame and then stunk it up in the game. So the motivation when you don't have to pull their teeth to get ready to go Monday through Friday, yeah, that's refreshing.
How would you even judge whether a team is locked in pregame or not? Like, what are you even basing that shit on? Like, you know what I mean? I mean, you're going through warm ups and stretches and whatever. Okay, I mean, fine. I mean, in some ways, you can probably be more. I mean, again, this is human nature. I don't think it matters either way, but just for the sake of the podcast, I think you almost have more of a problem if you're too juiced, where it's like, hey, chill the hell out a little bit.
Chase, I did the numbers. I don't know, about 2 or 3 months ago. I did the numbers. I coached in 293 football games,
Oh,
and probably 274 of them in the coach's locker room or coach's area before somebody said they're locked in or they're not ready to play. I mean, so, and it's kind of like well, I wanted to, it's not the right time, but I've always wanted to go. What in the hell does that like? How do you know? You know what I mean? Like, I still don't know. It's kind of like when people say, "Oh, we got out coached." Like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Did you get out executed or what does out coached mean? Like, nobody can really define it, and it's like one of these buzzwords that like define that for me. I still don't know. I did it for a long time. I have no idea, but
it
um,
means shit don't work, Siski. That's what it
yeah,
means.
you got out executed.
That's what it
You got
means.
you
That's
got your ass kicked. That's what it means to me. I mean, but out coach, you got you're sure. But so like, there's so many people like it's just such a big catchphrase, right? But no, I like Lane's not stupid. Lane's smart. He worked with those dudes. He also worked with dudes on the other sideline. He knows he knows this is respect week. You know what I mean? Like he knows Kirby's looking for anything to get him motivated, ready to go. So
because
anything he's
Kirby
looking
finds
for.
the smallest little kernel. I mean, just the
Yeah.
dumbest crap out there, and goes, "Hey, look, here we go." I mean, he'll use the fact that the line's only 3.5.
Oh, I guarantee you, he'll throw up in the video, in the hype video, or whatever he uses on early in the week. There's going to be that ESPN FPI or whatever it is, that predictor. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that graphic will be somewhere in the building, guaranteed. Somebody, the players have seen that graphic this week. He's made that available.
So you mentioned the sleepiness is during the week. Let's say it happens on a Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. I mean, is that stuff that comes up in coaches' meetings? I mean, do you try to reverse it in some way? I mean, are you noticing it? Like, what is the result of that when you look up and go, hey, they're just not here with me right now?
Yeah, it's just it's the lack of you see it like you talk about it. You try to get them. It's always like the first day of classes is like this. I mean, there's days, right? There are days that it's going to be sleepy, and you try to create the energy. But it's about the firmness. It's about the effort at practice, and it's not really the effort of like they're jogging. It's the effort to finish. It's the effort. It's the extra, and you can feel it. It's the mood. It's just it's tangible. I mean, you can sense it, and so it's just the attitude, the positivity, or are they dragging ass and just trying to get through the day? You know what I mean? It's it's the spring practice before spring break. It's there are days that are just you're kicking yourself in the balls before you even go out there.
Big Ben asking a question: if Ole Miss hosts a playoff game, can they warm up in the indoor? Is that a ban on an SEC game only? I do not know the answer to that. I would assume they technically can, but
Yeah.
cart
So
before horse and whatnot. But yeah,
I, I get now this is a personal choice. This is not. I know
hmm
some coaches like that's I'm anti that stuff. I don't care if it's 400 degrees outside. I don't care if it's I'm like put their pads on and let's go out there. I'm not in the fan of not wearing shoulder pads if it's 400 degrees, whatever it is, or if it's cold or whatever. Like the whole point of warming a team up is to get them into the environment so they don't have the anxiety of going out there. You don't want to add in my opinion, in a big moment. This is again personal choice. Some coaches believe totally opposite, but I would not want to warm my team up in the indoor on a home playoff game when there's already going to be anxiety, and the first time they get to feel that environment is it's time to go play. Like I want them to have 40 minutes or 50 minutes of seeing the other team, of having to feel the electricity of the crowd in the stadium, and let's go. If it's hot, they feel the heat. I mean, whatever it is. I mean, it's not going to kill them. Let's go. Let's go get used to it, and let's pop some pads in pregame. I mean, you're fisting to go hit somebody for 4.5 hours. So let's go when we can
four and a half
spend.
hours.
We can. I mean, with TV timeouts, that's about where we're at, right? Hey, if it's a CBS game, hey, I'm just telling you.
Uh-huh.
And then after the change, ABC said, "Hold my beer and watch this, CBS." So, but you sit there, you want to. I mean, if we got to go like 2 reps of one-on-ones or whatever it is where we hit somebody, okay, you're fisting to hit somebody for 4.5 hours. You can do 2 reps. Like, let's get the anxiety and let's let them revert back to their training.
What's the argument the other way?
Like I just think people are like, hey, it's hot out there. I don't want them dehydrating or whatever. But like in my opinion, again, my opinion, if they're taking care of their bodies through the week like they're supposed to, it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Are they trying to hide personnel?
No, I mean nobody. It's not a secret anymore. I mean everybody kind of knows. Like that's the other thing that's extremely overrated. I used to I had a few coaches that I worked for that didn't like that I did this, but Joey Jones in particular. So I coach receivers, right? So our group during endo when you split off into groups, my group was always closest to the 50. Okay,
Hmm.
and it never failed. Like every analyst, GA or whatever, they will come walking down the sideline on your side to try to see who's playing and who's not. To the point where they were like in my space, you know what I mean? And as some of the listeners here have known, I have a tendency to get turnt sometimes and hit my. I am 800% turnt on game day. I'm in a whole different stratosphere mentally, and I would get a little irritated when people were in my space. And every week if a GA or analyst walked over there and started taking roll in my room in my deal, I would literally stop my drill and walk over to him and say, "Who do you want to know? I'm going to save you time. Who do you want to know is playing or not?" I said, "I'll tell you and get the. I'm not since it's a morning show and it's your show. I'm not going to say I get the whatever back. Get away from me, or we're going to have a problem." Like it was a issue. So that used to drive me nuts.
Did you keep that same level when you were just doing recruiting and not on field? I mean, is it the same? Is your deal on game day so much different? I mean, how do you sort of mentally change in those ways?
Boy, it's hard. That is the hardest part. So it depends on what my role was.
Okay.
You know, you have to, when you have to flip the script because when you're doing recruiting, it's hey, how are you? And this and this,
You're
hey.
about
And inside I'm dying. I'm dying. It's so hard. And then like you have to flip the script. And I always said I told Coach Saban like he was the best at it, and Matt was really good with it. But you're bringing in these recruits to the coach right before a game. Like if I was the head coach, there's 0.0% chance I'd be able to talk to somebody that close before a game. Like I mean, I'm when I was coaching when I'm on the field, like, and I don't have to do that. I did a little bit. You shake your hands, but I don't have to go. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Like you don't do that a lot and have these long meetings. And I mean, I be honest with you, on game day, I kind of wake up pissed off, and you get in, you locked in, and it's a complete personality switch, right? And I mean, if you've been a competitor of anything, you understand, but especially when you're coaching in college, because you got 12 days. I mean, your whole livelihood is on 12 days on a score. And so it's exam day. I mean, it's your livelihood. And I always joke, is like, or not joke, but how fans get upset when you lose a game, or a gambler gets upset because he loses a bet. Like, I'm not losing a bet. I'm losing a way to provide for my family. It's the ultimate bet. And so you're more than locked in, and it's a big day, and I'm not in the mood to do things that, especially when it's somebody that you're not recruiting or you're not going to get. Like, I don't want to waste my time. And so but yeah, completely different. Now I would be able to, like, I had to refocus, like I had to learn, probably not really at Ole Miss the first time, because recruiting was a little bit different. The way we had it set up, I did a lot more coaching when I was with Freeze here. I was
Hmm.
a ton more involved um, in the offensive stuff in 12 than I was really at Alabama. Only thing I did at Alabama really on game day, like from a coaching standpoint, was personnel on defense. And so I didn't have to be really um, pissed off to do that, I guess, or really hyper focused, because it was pretty easy for me being an offensive guy my whole life. And then coming back with Matt, I did more game day stuff with clock management and things like that. So again, nothing that you had to be like, control 3 or 4 players at the same time on the field.
We're all human. I mean, you're human out there. Anybody who played at a high level or played at any level where there's stakes or emotions or whatever gets this. But are some coaches, what makes them better or worse overall, the ones that are better or worse at taking that nervousness or anxiety and those 12 days mattering so much and putting that away and having clear heads? I mean, how do you sort of fight off just the human anxiousness and nerves that come with a game day because of what all the hell is riding on that?
Yeah, I mean, I had to learn. I mean, it wasn't nothing that somebody taught me. It's kind of like you get thrown in the fire and you got to find out what works best for you. For me, so I think everybody's different on how they do that. I think everybody tries to flush the emotion out. For me, what worked best for me is, so in college on Thursday night after practice, or Thursday when it's time to go home, I just went in my office and shut the door, and I wrote everything out while I was not being emotional, like, hey, this is, first down calls, this is my favorite third down call. Like, I wrote everything out that I thought while I had a clear mind. Because if you get in a game and you get pissed off, and I've seen coaches do this too, they get pissed off because they get a sack, they're just going to, go vertical, all verticals the next play. And they don't, they're just mad, you know what I mean? And so you have to be able to flush the emotions out and call the game without making emotion. Now, the older you get, the easier it is to do that. But early in your career, it's new to you. You kind of feel the emotion. But for me, what worked best was 2 days before the game, going in there and sitting down while I was in a normal state of mind, writing everything down. What my favorite calls were and stuff like that.
Sometimes it seems like that's what happens to Lane when he goes for some of the weird fourth downs because he's just, my God, not ready to get off the field yet. It's like, hey, I'm annoyed that third down didn't work and we're going to throw it and we're staying out here. And
Yeah,
it is what it is.
you would think that. Now, Lane, I mean, it's worked for him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, everybody's there. You can't say things don't work when the guy's a head coach in the SEC, and we're sitting here
Yeah.
talking about a game this weekend, right? It works.
Yeah.
Lane's preparation and my preparation were night and day, right? I guess there's different ways. That's why I said it works different for everybody, right? But
But I bet Lane's is
Lane,
different today than it was in 14, though.
probably, yeah. I don't know. I'm not with him,
Yeah.
but I know when I was with him, Lane was a very late prepper. Like, Lane would like Lane could. I've seen Lane change the game plan in the locker room while we're at the stadium. I mean, he's very like, and it works. Like, I mean, it's not like, again, not saying it's stupid, because it works. I just couldn't do it, right? I mean, so there's probably a reason he's making $10 million a year, and I'm at whatever he's making. So, but yeah, everybody's different. Freeze was a little bit like that, right? Freeze. I worked with Freeze when we would practice the entire week on a game plan, and he would come in Friday morning and literally want to throw the entire game plan in the trash can and start over. I'm like, we don't have any practice left, I've told this story on several podcasts. I don't know which ones I've done it on, but I remember the one specifically in my head that I was like, what are we doing? and he did it 5 times. He did this exact same thing 5 times while I was with him, and he was 5 for 5. But we played North Texas at home at Arkansas State, and it was like the 2 undefeated teams in the league. It's like halfway through the season. It's a big game, and I go recruiting, and actually in Texas, well, after practice, it was me and like Tom Allen, Grant Hurd, and I can't remember who else was with us, but it was me, Grant Hurd. I mean, it was me, Grant Hurd, and Tom Allen, and somebody else, and they flew us to Dallas to recruit the day before, right? And we'd had this game plan and all this stuff, and then I get a phone call at like noon on Friday in between schools, and it was from Darren Hiller. He's like, "Hey man, you got to call Freeze and talk to him." I was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Dude, he's in here like he's thrown the whole game plan away. He's putting in new protections." And I was kind of the one that could talk to him, you know. And so I start calling him. He doesn't answer. Then I'm calling him and he doesn't answer. And I'm calling him and he's not answering. He's not calling me back. Very unusual. And I'm texting him, no response. And that's very unusual to this day. I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
the head coach at Auburn. I can text him, he'll text me back in 10 minutes. Okay. Like it's very unusual. And so he wouldn't ever respond to me. And so finally at like, so walkthroughs have happened, all this stuff. Now I'm getting calls from my players after the walkthrough. They're like, "Coach," because my GA ran the meeting while I was gone. He's like, "Coach, we changed all kinds of stuff today. We put in new routes and all this stuff." Well, I'm the signal guy. Like I'm sending in the play calls. And Hiller, we had changed like we put in brand new protections that we'd never run. And it was like 31 new plays, okay, that we have never run before. And we got a game the next day at like 11 o'clock. And I'm going, what in the hell are we doing? And so finally he calls me back. I'm on my way to the game I'm watching, and it's like 6:30. He's getting ready to go to team dinner. He calls him back. I could tell he's irritated when you can tell in his tone what his mood is when he calls you. So I could tell he was like pissed off. And when he called me, he's like, "Hey, did you call?" One of those deals. I was like, "Coach, what did we change?" I said, "Why are we changing everything?" He goes, "That's because I'm the head coach. That's what I decided to do." I said, "Fair enough." I said, "Okay." I said, because he was my friend before he was my boss, so we had a little bit of a different relationship. And so I was like, "Hey," I said, "So I'm the signal guy." I was like, "What do we do? What signals? When we're tempo?" I said, "What signals do you want to call these 31 plays that we play?" I said, "We're kicking this thing off in like 15 hours, and we don't have signals for 31 plays." He goes, "Just get with the quarterbacks in the morning after pregame meal, and y'all figure it out." Okay, and we figured it out, and I'm like, "We're fixing to get our ass kicked." Well, we scored touchdowns in the first 5 possessions of the game, and so I was just like, at that point in time, I was like, this practice shit's overrated. I guess I don't know. We scored touchdowns in the first 5 drives of the game and blew them out. So I was just like, whatever. And he did that like 5 times over the times that I was with him, and we beat the shit out of all 5 teams he did that on.
Did you run a lot of those 31 plays?
Yeah, we did. Hell, we opened the game
That's
with
more
like
plays than Longo had his entire playbook. So I mean, it's
it's actually about what it is. It was like 30 something, I think, 32, 36, something like that. It was something like that. Yeah.
I'm typically talking to you when Jeffrey's on, and we're aware of his thoughts and inclinations regarding the subject matter. What's it like? I mean, you know the profession, you know whatever, you know the good and bad that comes with it. But I mean, just for you personally, what is it like watching you go through this crap over there right now?
I kind of see it what it's for, right? I said this yesterday on our show. Like, look, I mean, at the end of the day, their defense is playing really well, and they're playing more than good enough to win a bunch of games. To me, it's just quarterback play. At the beginning, it was quarterback play and decision making coming from that position. Um, and then I know why, because I don't know if I can go into it. I know why he made the decision not to get a portal quarterback this past year. It was a concern for him coming into the season, I believe. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not, but I would be more than shocked if he didn't go get a quarterback. I would be beyond shocked. Matter of fact, I think I don't think it's an option at this point in time. But quarterback's been playing like decision making has been a lot better the last 3 weeks, but then it's just he's just not. He just doesn't have the arm talent to really play the position and execute in that offense. We talked about it. I think on the show. I don't was it post game or whatever it was. Well, we were talking about the fade line. I know I talked about it on our show yesterday, but um, like it was 1st and 10. They had press man, and he's got an RPO, so it's going to convert to a fade. It's the 100% the right decision to throw the fade, and the receiver's holding the fade line, which is halfway between the bottom. We would paint on the practice field. You've seen it when you go out there. There's a red line halfway between the bottom of the numbers and the sideline, and it's
Yeah.
the receiver's job to hold that line, and you're to keep the defender on your inside shoulder. Okay, and how you people see a lot of back shoulder balls and things like that. Well, the whole how you teach it from a quarterback's perspective is if the receiver's holding the fade line like he's supposed to, you have between the fade line and the sideline for the quarterback to throw the ball. You're giving him room to work.
Okay.
If the receiver gets pushed closer to the sideline, closer to the boundary, Ole Miss does this a lot with Trey Harris. If the receiver gets pushed to the boundary, now the quarterback has nowhere to put the ball. So that's when you're getting a lot of your back shoulder and underthrown go balls, because that's the only place the quarterback can succeed. And so that's kind of how you know that. And anyway, I don't remember who the receiver was, but he's got a perfect hold on the fade line, and Thorne throws it like 4 yards inside the top of the numbers. I mean, he's like 15 or 20 feet away from the ball. And this college football, it's the SEC. You can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, and so even when he's making the right decisions, he's late. And so he needs a quarterback. And if he had a legit quarterback right now, I mean, they had lost one game probably to Georgia, because every other game they've been in, they've lost, but they've been in. And so besides the Georgia game. So look, he's got to get a quarterback at the end of the day. I think he's recruiting well. That's probably the interesting thing to me is like momentum doesn't mean anything anymore. You used to
Oh.
have to win to keep recruits. Now you just got to pay them.
Hmm.
Now he may have to pay more. It may cut not winning
It goes
may
up.
price up, right? So, but if you're paying them, you get them. The momentum doesn't mean as much as it used to.
Yeah, it just looks like the job's cooking him inside out. I mean, that's the thing. Just personally, just doesn't look right. I mean, a guy that I've seen for a long time. Well, it's like what
Probably
Lane
tired.
mentioned yesterday. You know what?
He's probably tired of it. He's probably like where I mean, I get it. I mean, we're all human. I mean, he's having to answer the same questions over and over and over and over again, and it's a nonstop free fall of criticism. I mean, I'm sure it's not sure it's not fun. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like it's you see. I mean, he's doing it every week. You know what I mean? It's every week it's something, and so I'm sure that kind of wears on you after time.
Yeah, well, it's like what Lane mentioned yesterday because he was asking about Carson Beck, and he was like, "Hey, I mean, the good problem to have is he can make the throws. He's throwing it to the other team some, so they got to fix that. But at least you've got a quarterback that can do it. He's like some teams have a quarterback that can't do it, and then you're just kind of screwed, and you call him a game manager or something like that. He kind of went down that route a little bit, talking about Beck because I mean, look, Ole Miss is going to need to catch a couple of those he throws at him on Saturday.
Yeah, I have never. AJ and I were talking about this off air yesterday. He hadn't either. I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback. I'm sure there's been one. I just don't remember it or seen it. When the guy's tied for the lead in the league with touchdown passes, he also leads the league in interceptions, and then he's completing his passes at a crazy rate. And so usually the completion percent, if you got a guy that's leading the league in interceptions, usually his completion rate is way down. And and then you look at, like, again, there are plenty of bad decisions, and but there's a bunch that he's snake bit on too. There's some things that really aren't his fault, but he's throwing plenty, okay, that are his fault. Like he got deked in a simulated pressure against Florida. He got deked on the corner deked him on cover
Mm-hmm.
two when he's on a sell route. So he's had plenty. And then, like on that, we talked about this yesterday. I couldn't remember if it was a sell or a corner, and one of our guys in chat, that's a football guy, said it was a sell because I couldn't see the all 22. But he goes to throw that ball. It looks like a duck. Well, the reason it was a duck because like he went to throw it, and he naturally clinched the ball with his hand. That's what caused all that. That's a natural. You can tell a quarterback at this second decided not to throw. It's too late.
Mm-hmm.
When you're here and the ball, if it's not batted and the ball is a different rotation, that means when he was here, he saw something. So that's problematic.
It means he's been accurate on throws. He's made a bunch of bad decisions. He's not scatter
Yeah, that's
shooting,
what
throwing into interceptions. He's
somebody you just don't
getting
see it,
fooled.
like, because usually
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you're
yeah,
making
yeah,
bad decisions, your
yeah.
completion percentage is way down
Hmm.
because you're not all of them are getting picked, right? Bad decisions are ball hits the ground a lot too, and so it's just I don't know. It's been I don't remember one being that high completion percentage with that kind of interception and that kind of touch. Or if they're making bad decisions, they don't throw that many touchdowns. Like it just those three don't go together a lot.
How shocked were you by that 3.5 line?
Not not after not um I've studied the game pretty good the last 2 days, so um we can do it here. I'm ready to go. I know where I'm going for Thursday. I know what I'm going for the game and everywhere
Yeah,
already.
talk to me, Goose. What are you seeing? What are you seeing on the game?
Um, Look, I think that when you watch Georgia, they're elite on defense, and there's no other way to sugarcoat that. I mean, they're really good. They're not even everybody's talking about Carson Beck in the offense, and they're leaving out the best part. I mean, these guys are elite on defense. Where they have caused problems and protections, that they're Schumann is. I've worked with Schumann. He is unbelievably smart. They do a lot of exotic movements and coverages. They are stemming and moving a lot, and where they've created problems when they get teams that go tempo, they're doing a really good job of creating movement late and timing up snap counts. That's where they killed Texas, and Texas never even adjusted. They just kept boop movement gone, and they were going from odd to split threes, double mug. I mean, just in one movement, and they were creating pressure and overwhelming. And then besides that, on defense, they actually have some dogs. They're really good. But the formula to beat Georgia, when you look at the close games, you watch the Kentucky game, you watch the Florida game for the first 56 minutes, you watch the Alabama game. Of course, that was two different halves, right? Um, but when you watch that, when they're playing really well, really good football and dominating people, they're creating short fields, okay, and field position. So the key is to create every single possession. You got to end with a kick, okay, whether it's a punt, field goal, extra point, whatever it is. Every single possession, you need to go out there and try to play a clean game. Um, Offensively, Georgia is you said it earlier is Carson Beck when they play close games, he's ineffective. Why is he ineffective? The picture changes. You know, he gets deked, he gets decision making, late rolls. The picture changes pre and post snap. And I guarantee you, Pete, and that's the thing here that's not going to be a secret. Okay, Pete and Lane know that defense. Okay, and then on the flip side, Kirby Smart knows the
Hmm.
offense, right? So uh, and Kirby Smart knows defense. So there's not going to be any secret schematically. It's really how you do it. Georgia's very exotic on how they're doing it. They're doing some things that I don't. I mean, you got to have dudes to do it, but they're doing things that I've been on teams that we couldn't even execute. I mean, they're showing like vanilla man free, dropping three out going from 1 to 2, but dropping three out from 4 yards on top of number three, 4 yards inside the hash to go the deep half field player. Like I'm like, well, who's got number one on the vertical over there? You know, it's like I'm like, what are we doing? And I talked to a buddy of mine who's a D coordinator in the Big 12. And I was talking to him. I was like, what is the deal with everybody playing these exotic coverages? Like, I'm like, do they not know? Like, I'm talking about he goes, they're just playing tendencies and RPOs. They're trying to close down. They're trying to do all this exotic stuff to close down the RPO windows. I mean, the pass of the RPO windows. I'm like, well, what happens if they don't call an RPO and just go 6-man protection and run a route? He goes, well, they're caught. I'm like, I was like, he goes, they're just gambling. And he says it's no different than going cover zero on third and whatever, right? You're gambling and risking a little bit. But I'm like I know there's been plays where like if in 3-by-1, if you send one on a vertical, there's nobody home. I mean, it's just a free touchdown. And you start watching games and you see there's so much exotic movement going on the back end with simulated pressures, who's dropping out, and then on top of, rolling coverages that there are guys getting cut loose. With that being said, the quarterback has to process, okay, it's going 1 to 2 high. This guy's rolled there. I got to not start like when the ball snap in his mind, he's starting his progression over here. But in a quarter of a second, he's got to go, oh, it moved. Now I got to turn and start my progression on the backside. And
Hmm.
so it's a lot for a quarterback. And I think with Carson Beck, the more you can move and do those things. And so I'm actually going to pick Ole Miss to win this game outright at home.
What percentage of the plays have these coverages that you're talking about versus them playing more traditional stop RPO? I mean, like, how much of the game are we talking about here, if that makes sense?
It depends on the game, right? So, give you an example. When they played Alabama in the first half, they were doing all kinds of shit on defense, all kinds. And in the second half, when they came back, they just lined up and played day one, base check three auto. I mean, they were just mod coverage, and they were
Don't
just
get caught. Let's just play defense.
they just played defense in the second half, and then they were there. Now, um, Ole Miss, and the reason I didn't even get to the Ole Miss part, and I went ahead and did my pick, but Ole Miss, they're playing really well last six quarters. I said it on your board. I said it at a bunch of places. I don't know what they did in the bye week, but they went from giving up 39 sacks in the first seven games to giving up two in the last 2 weeks. And when you can keep Dart upright, it gives him time to go through his progressions. And you're seeing how everybody was like, everybody wants to criticize people. We're on 7-day contracts. I've said that a gazillion places. Um, everybody's week to week on their opinion of people and coaches and everything else. Dart's a dude. Okay, when you give him a chance to go through progressions and make good throws, and he can go through and he can go deep to short to check down. He can go through his progressions and make good decisions. But when he's breathing out of his ear hole every 2.5 seconds, what are you going to do? And this is not a joke. That's what I always say is like there is a point in time, and I told AJ when we had Destin Hood, who was the best player I've ever had. I said, look, when all else fails, and you got to throw that bitch up to two and listen for the crowd to roar. I mean, that's we were talking about off the air. AJ and I were talking about Hopkins, D Hop.
Hmm.
I said, about going to Kansas City. He goes, I said, yeah, as soon as he gets, he'll get more comfortable once he gets the playbook. He said he ain't gonna learn the playbook. I said he never knew the plays in Houston. He says, but I'll tell you this. I mean, he didn't know half the plays. He would just go feel the route. He said, but when he threw his hand up, you threw it to him because he was going to catch it. And I was like, huh? He goes, yeah. He goes, well, he could. Hey, you got this bench route? Nope, nope, no bench route here. I'm going to run a skinny post. And like, wouldn't even tell you. Just go run a skinny post and throw his hand up. He goes, give it to him. Give it to him. And so, but when you can go, they're doing a really good job protecting. They're going to need that, and I don't think they're going to hold them to 2 sacks this week either. But I think they've figured out some stuff where they can help the protection a little bit, um, and eliminate some of that. And I think they can control some of the movement and things by deking the snap count. And I think with the home crowd, everything's going. And here's the other thing: Ole Miss is playing with their back against the wall, and Georgia still has some slack. And I think it's about motivation and matchups. So I think Ole Miss wins the game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout or anything, but I think they find a way to keep it clean, get it to fourth quarter, one possession, and find a way.
You think it's overrated that the running back room's in the shape it's in right now?
Overrated, no. Or maybe overrated. I mean, it's not like not a concern. But
Because there's a good chance Dominic Thomas starts on Saturday.
it's not about that. It's not a concern, but it's about can you be just effective? And their quarterback's going to run now. You're going to put some quarterback run game in. I mean, it's all hands. Well, it's November, man. November's all hands
Yeah.
on deck. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
we're in November, so whatever you got, it's your Saturday is a game. There's nothing left on the plate. You're not saving anything. You're not saving health. We're worried about this guy getting hit. That was for September. All right, it's November. It's quarterback power. It's whatever you got to do. If you got to line up Watkins in the backfield, it doesn't matter. You're whatever it takes to move the ball. It's time to go. So it's go time.
Thomas was their best pass blocker on Saturday, by the way.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of is what it is. I mean, if
How
that
will they
makes
prep Dart for all that exotic stuff? Can you do it? I mean, what do you do? Is it more mental on the chalkboard? Is it something? I mean, you're trying to simulate that at all? Like, what do you do to prepare him
um,
this week?
I mean there you and I you got to find tendencies, right? I mean you can go find like this guy's lined up here. There's things there. A lot of times there's clues, right? It's like I always used to laugh. I said the corners are devious bastards. They will lie to you all day long. but the safeties always tell you the truth. And so, like, there's things that you can see and pick up on film, and if you study it, and then you can help them. And I'm just using this as an example because it literally just popped in my head. But if you go back to watch when Peyton Thorne threw the pick six late in the game against Oklahoma, they
Mm-hmm.
were showing zero all out blitz. All right, but remember, the safeties always tell you the truth. The safety was rolled down over top of two, but he was an outside leverage. Okay, they were playing cover zero. He'd be an inside leverage. So when he's in outside leverage, that should have told the quarterback that somebody's dropping out to bracket the guy. He never saw it and threw a strike to the guy in the bracket. Like, there are little things that you can see and pick up over the course of film, and everybody's different. Everybody teaches things different. But if you watch the film, there are little things that you can pick up that will kind of guide you into what's going to happen. But Georgia's really good at it now. I mean, there's a reason they're good on defense. But you just got to find a way, man. You know what I mean? Like, you got to find a way to get them to turn the ball over, which they've done, give you a short field, and you find a way to play a dirty game. And Florida played that game for 56 minutes. They end up losing the game by 14 points. They throw a pick deep in the territory, and then they just went for it on
Yeah.
fourth down, right? So, like, you got to play a clean game. If you come out, and I will say this: if Ole Miss comes out and turns the ball over and creates short fields, it's probably not going to work out great for Ole Miss. But uh, a way to do that. And then for the last six quarters, I think Ole Miss is kind of peaking at the right time. I think they played really well Saturday on both sides of the ball.
What level of rain actually impacts a game? We look at forecast for Saturday. I mean, how much does it have to rain for it actually to matter one way or the other, or to shift play calling, footing, whatever we're talking
Yeah.
about?
Well, that field drains really well. So footing, it would have to. I mean, it would have to be sloppy. You would
Mm-hmm.
have to have the ball wet, and they do a good job keeping the balls dry. Like, if it to the point to where it affects it, where rain affects it is if it gets to the point to where when they put the ball down, if it's raining hard enough to get the entire ball wet before the ball snapped, then yes, it's a problem. If it's sprinkling or even raining lightly, not a big deal. Footing would have to be almost standing water on the footing. I actually like now late in the year. That's why I always said I'd never want to play somewhere where they ride the field. If you have rye grass on your field, yeah, it doesn't even have to be. It doesn't even have to be raining for it to affect your footing. That's why Bermuda, everybody's. I don't like the overseed stuff. It looks pretty for the fans, but when you ride it,
Mm-hmm.
it's real slick. The wind is much worse than rain. Wind is much worse than rain from affecting a game plan.
Yeah, quarterback, everything.
Oh, I mean, it's night and day. Like, you would go, and when we were in Jonesboro, I don't know what the deal is in Jonesboro. The wind blows there more than any other place in America. I think it blows more. They should put like uh, electric windmills up there, man. And our practice field was wide open. There was no fence, no nothing, and the wind would blow 15, 20 miles an hour every day. And we would have to turn 7-on-7 around and go with the wind because we couldn't. I mean, you try to throw a curl into a 15
Mm-hmm.
mile an hour wind. It took 4 minutes. You had to time it with a sundial.
Harris, obviously the most important guy to get back. Did Wright play well enough on Saturday for you to not be as worried about Prescorn's return? If not, or is it more of like, do you get into some sort of 12 personnel or something like that with that? Like what sort of matters from an injury report standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always next guy up mentality.
Okay.
I mean, if they're playing, they're good to go. I mean, there's not like they're nobody's really doing anything. Neither one of the tight ends are doing anything after the catch anyway. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So can they run the route and you get it to them, right? I mean, that's kind of I mean, it's not like you got Kyle Pitts out there, and you're missing Kyle Pitts. So to me, it's can they get? I mean, and they both can do that. So I don't see any difference in my mind between the tight ends. Receiver wise, Trey Harris, yeah, because he gets open. I mean, he's like a
Yes.
7-11. I mean, he's always open. Um, he can legit get open. So yeah, you get him back. That's a bonus. But again, it goes back to me. It's like I think Jordan Watkins can get open. I think there's guys that can get open. Mean, obviously, he proved that the other day. But to me, it all goes back. Can you protect the quarterback? If you
Mm-hmm.
can protect the quarterback, then I think they'll do a good enough job of getting open. I think they'll be fine there.
Pounds has got to have a good day on that left
All
side.
all five. There's gonna be matchups. I mean, look, they got grown men's up front, but
Hmm.
so does Ole Miss, and you got to be able to. The biggest thing I can see what would hurt Ole Miss, I think, in this game is if they got too lazy on the snap count, and
Hmm.
you allow them to, if you don't do a great job, and naturally you get into a rhythm, right? And it's just natural. I know it sounds weird. Snap count sometimes is the last thing you think about, but it has to be an important deal where you're clapping, you change up the function. Okay, we're clapping, we're asking for it verbally at home, we're leg kicking, we're doing. You gotta change your indicators in this game too. If even if you're going on basically first motion or whatever it is, you gotta change your indicators throughout the game and practice it, because I think that's where they really hurt people. It's like watching Sandy. I know nobody it matters to anybody, but the team that was the best at this over the years, when San Diego State with Rocky Long was the head coach, when San Diego State was rolling and they were winning like 15, 16, 17 games in a row. We were the first. We were the team that started after us. They had not lost a game between when at South, and we're at South Alabama now. It's not like we're at freaking Alabama. We're at South Alabama, and they'd gone on this win streak, and they were ranked like, I don't know, 12th, 13th in the country. And literally, I'm sitting there watching 15 games where teams were just going ready, set, go, or indicator, and they never even went on two. And so these guys are getting running starts and from these exotic looks, and just over, people are trying to change their points late, and they're just hitting the quarterback in the back of the head. You got to let them get set. You got to know what they're doing, and you got to make sure you can change your points, your flip to protection, or whatever you need to do to keep yourself protected.
Did you see Mike Gundy bite back yesterday?
I did not read it. I saw the clip, the first part of it, but I did not read the article. But yeah, I mean,
Oklahoma
it's
State 3-6 on the season. I think 0-6 in the Big 12. Gundy's been there a long time, won a lot of damn football games. I don't think he got out of coach. There's probably a lot of reasons for their 3-6, but yeah, I'll read it to you real quick. He was asked a question about the fans being frustrated. He said, quote, unfortunately in life, most people are weak, and as soon as things start to not go as good as they thought, they fall apart in panic, and they want to point the finger and blame other people. You see it in everyday life. People do it all the time. That's why I refuse to watch the TV and watch the news, because I get tired of people complaining and bitching about this and that versus just doing something about it and trying to figure out a way to make it better. In most cases, the people that are negative and voicing their opinion are the same ones that can't pay their own bills. They're not taking care of themselves. They're not taking care of their own family. They're not taking care of their own job. But they have an obligation to speak out and complain about others because it makes them feel better. But then in the end, when they go to bed at night, they're the same failure they were before they said anything negative about anybody else. What's important for the Oklahoma State fans to know is we're very aware of what's going on, and at some point in life, we all have to put trust in somebody. And I think they need to trust that we have a good plan for what's going on here, and in the big picture, we have answers. Sometimes those are not short term. Sometimes they might be long term answers. Michael Gundy yesterday, Oklahoma State University.
well, you started that, and I was like, okay, all right, I see, Mike. And then when you started the rhyme, if I was writing his speech, okay, if I was writing his speech, I would have been like, hey, coach, let's cut this part out right here when you start with the people that pay their bills. Like, let's cut that part out and
Yeah,
go
let's
right
not go
after.
there.
Let's cut that part out, and then we'll add the part where it says, you got to trust that we have a really good plan. We'll finish up with that part. You know what I mean? So it's like, um, yeah, look, frustration. I always joke. I was like, that's reason number 10,406 that I could have never been a head coach. The press conferences would have been just awesome. Um, but
But
there are times that you can probably, like, I would have, again, I don't have a problem with what he said. I would have just stopped with you. You even if you think it, you got to cut that part out where it's talking about paying the bills part, and then the complete failures at home, and then just pick it back up where you got to trust that we have a good plan here and we're executing. Like I'd have cut that middle section out
and
of
as
of
Doris says, look, he gets paid a lot of money. When you start asking people to pay for shit, they get more pissed off. Just is what it is. Right, wrong, indifferent. You deal with it.
I mean, I agree. They're more emotional. I think they're more emotional, but like fans have been pissed off a long time. Hand raised guy. I've heard fans get pissed off and get mad.
Not day one, not the first time,
Not first time. Yeah, they
not
get
true.
pissed off and they get emotional. And but there are. I will say this. I do agree that they're more emotional now. Now, here's the other thing: is it makes fans in general more emotional. I would actually question how much of the actual emotional people actually give.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an excuse for them to be more emotional. I think
You don't
I
think the
don't.
top 5% are the ones getting on the internet and losing their shit? No,
Yeah,
yeah.
and like in Oklahoma State's case, okay, like they get a huge chunk from a single individual.
They do.
Okay, so and look, he's been around a long time, but I don't. He's one that I don't think win, lose or draw. I don't think he's if the shit doesn't change. I don't know how much longer he's going to do it. I mean, he's verbally
You're
frustrated with
reading
us.
him as tired with the profession at this point.
Yeah, great dude, by the way. Great.
Really?
You talking about drink a beer with a guy? Great, great guy to drink a beer with. Legend. Man,
Well, he's not bashful.
if you could get him and like Sam Pittman and Dana Holgerson in a room
Ooh,
with
ooh,
about 2 cases of Diet Millers, it could be a
ooh.
fun.
You got Sam in the top three.
Oh yeah, love Sam
Okay.
Pittman. Love Sam Pittman. Yeah, those are just guys that I haven't drank beer with that I would like to.
Who's your
Kirby's
fourth?
fun.
If I give you another
Well,
one.
Kirby, I've drank Diet Millers for Kirby before. So I just left him out because I've already experienced it. Kirby's awesome. Matt Rule would be up there.
I like that.
Matt Rule would be up there for me. Let's see. I'm trying to think guys I haven't that would be
How
interesting.
different is Kirby in real life than he looks on screen?
Like you talking about like Matt all the time? Like
No, just
he's
in general. Like his
um,
public persona different than if you actually know the guy.
yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, Kirby and I are very similar. Extremely similar.
Mm-hmm.
He likes golf. He swings hard. I mean, I'm talking about even golf games there. We
He
both
doesn't hit
swing hard.
fairways either.
Nope. We both swing hard and
Okay.
it both goes right. I mean, and it's how hard can you swing it? And no, Kirby's good people. He really is. He's fun, but he's now when it comes to work, he's intense. Um, he's passionate, loves his players. I mean, he's good people.
You think he's done soon?
Sooner rather than later, if it doesn't change. And I think that
Meaning the scope of the profession.
yeah, and I don't think it has any. It's more of the and there's hope until the first lawsuit comes out, right? There's hope with the revenue
Mm-hmm.
sharing. It's going to provide a false sense of a cap. I think there's hope for that, but there's still the constant. What's the right way to put this? The constant it's very hard to develop people. It's probably the right word. You can probably develop players. It's very hard to develop a person with a current setup.
Yeah.
It's very hard. You can't the discipline required to develop people
Yeah.
is taking away from coaches right now.
You going on Saturday?
No, 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 hell no. Not even a chance.
I mean, see your guy. I didn't know.
No, no. I'll be sitting right here. There's a 0.0% chance I'm going. I will go to the basketball game on Friday night again. I will. I attend every basketball game.
Did you go last
Big back.
night?
I did in my
It was
section. I think
7:30. I couldn't make that work last night.
7. See, look, you
I
act
have an
like you're.
8-year old and I had a kid by myself.
Me
I had no
too.
choice.
Me
Well,
too.
I know, but
Me too. Mine was right next to me, and I told Mama to suck it up. And he was a raging asshole this morning at six
we'll
o'clock.
see. See.
Guess what? I don't have to deal with it. The teacher does. So if it was a,
All you got to do
so
is get them to school.
get them to school. I got to deal with like an hour, right? And then, yeah, up there sitting in my section. It's my favorite section to sit in. I love it. Nobody's up there.
I mean, I need
Like,
binoculars to see you up there, but you love it up there. You're all good.
that's
You see the whole court.
my preference. I can't, you can't, I don't understand sitting low at a basketball game. You can't see anything. Dudes are 9 foot tall and they're running. They're great athletes and they're running around. Like I want to see the play develop. I want to complain because ball movement's not good enough. I want to be emotional fan. You know what I mean? I'm donating. I'm spending my money. I want to be emotional fan. I want to complain that there's no ball movement and everybody's playing NBA basketball instead of hitting the guy that there's 5 guys. It feels like there's 9 players on the court.
Where
One
is
guy,
my Hoosiers, by God? Pass the ball, picket
yeah,
fence, and
let's
let's
go.
shoot the damn thing.
Let's run the picket fence. Let's hit Jimmy Chipwood in the corner and let's go, man. I mean, let her fly in and out. Let's go.
So give me your 3 minute basketball take on last night then. I mean, Long Island sucks. Rod Strickland's team's not very good, but almost put them away.
Yeah. Um, just I mean, they were you could tell it was a new team trying to figure out how to play together. Ball movement was not great. There was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of open looks that were missed. But it'll get better. It'll get better. But they're talented. They're much. I don't. Again, the SEC is good. All right. I don't know. I haven't watched. I've watched Alabama play against Memphis. I haven't watched any other college basketball. I usually hit that here in about 3 or 4 weeks. I'll start hammering college basketball. But besides, I'll go to all the Ole Miss games and watch those teams. But I don't really watch college basketball religiously until probably I don't know 3 or 4 weeks. But um, you can just tell they were a brand new team. I know they're better. Like I can tell that they're better than the team that was on the court last year. You just don't know how much better the other SEC teams, right? Like you
Exactly.
don't know. So, but they are better. It's a better team that was on the court last year, and better athletes, more scorers. Um, I looked up last night. I was at halftime. They were at 17 of 20 from the free throw line. Like they'll get to the rim. They got some guys that can score. Juju had 18 and a half. You
Yeah,
know,
24 for the game on 7 from 10 from the field.
yeah, he was hot from three. Everybody else, started off sluggish, but yeah, first game it's
Yep.
basket. And the other thing is like for fans, I think it's funny is they have such a difficult time transitioning from football to basketball mentality. Like if a
Mm-hmm.
team could be down 5 points with 10 minutes to go in the first half, and it's like fire everybody. Like guys, it's in football.
Mm-hmm.
like like you don't even need to start even thinking about a basketball game until like the last 10 minutes of the game. If you're
And if
not
it's
within
within 10 with 5 to go, you're actually still in the basketball game.
yeah, when I always say
Yeah.
this, if you're within like I always say a point a minute. Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
within 20 at half, like 19 at 19 minutes, 18, if you're cut and I always say 10 at 10 is kind of the number that you if you're the better team and you're even if you're down 10 with 10 minutes to go, you're still going to win the game probably.
SEC did take some losses last night quickly. You got Alabama knocked off UNC Asheville. Tennessee disposed of Gardner Webb. But UCF on its home floor last night knocks off A&M. The Aggies were ranked 13th in the country last night. The Big 12 is damn good at basketball. UCF getting a win for them. They're in that one in Orlando. Texas falls to Ohio State in Austin last night. Ohio State 80, Texas 72 last night. Florida 15-point winners over South Florida. Kentucky debuting the Mark Pope era. They win 103-62 over Wright State. South Carolina, bad loss. North Florida comes into Columbia and beats them at the Colonial Life Arena 74-71 last night. Georgia played with its food but beat Tennessee Tech 83-78. Vanderbilt won, Oklahoma won, and then Memphis last night knocks off Mizzou. So Mizzou starts 0-1 after an 83-75 loss to the Memphis Tigers last night.
Like
So
when you say that, the only thing that even like drew my attention was South Carolina because like the other ones, it's like
good
look
teams,
back.
yeah, whatever.
Well, I mean, it's 2024, 2025 year, right? There's this thing called NIL, and Power Five teams. Guess what they have? NIL, so they can probably go. And in basketball, here's the thing: is in basketball, there's only 5 guys on the court. So if you go buy one, that's like buying 5 players on a football field.
Mm-hmm.
And so
You
people
get
don't
you can get good real quick.
you get good real quick if you get the right one. I mean, like real good real quick if you get the right one.
Yeah, Ole Miss women did blow an opportunity yesterday, but probably a good sign for their season. They fall in Paris 68-66 to number 3 USC with Juju Watkins yesterday. Had a lead for a good bit of the second half, and then had a foul in the last 30 seconds. USC missed the field goal, made the free throws, and then Ole Miss had a turnover on last possession, falling 68-66
All
to
right. So
USC there in that one.
for my relatives, I had to ask: are you talking about USC South Carolina or USC Trojans?
I'm talking about the Trojans with
Okay.
Juju Watkins. Yes, the Southern Cal there on the. I guess I will call South Carolina USC occasionally, but I guess if I say SC, that means Southern Cal. So I guess that's on me.
No, so my all my wife's family is there. They live in South Carolina. So if you say, and I have been guilty of this, and they look at me like I have horns coming up my head, I will say USC is referring to the Trojans, and
Yeah,
I might as well just stole their dog. I mean,
they
they don't
have to
like
understand they are number 2 on the on the USC train.
they
They
don't
are not the engine.
fans don't understand that Tennessee and Texas are in the same league now. They're fighting it too. UT and UT. I'm like, which UT are we referring to? So
Hmm.
you have to ask just to be polite, but like I know in my heart.
Yeah, gotcha. We will wrap there. Siskey got some meetings. We got to go vote, do all that kind of stuff the rest of the day. Hope all of y'all have a wonderful election day. Be back in the morning. Scoop should be back in studio for that one on Wednesday morning, and then the rest of the week as typical here at MPW Digital. So for Tyler, I'm Chase. We'll talk to you again in the morning.